guys, I'm with John. Now John is an astrologer and a life coach, and he's the founder of the Alchemical Journey. Tell us all about it, John.
Thanks. As you say, I'm an astrologer. I became an astrologer in 1991. But my interest in astrology has always been transformation and healing and education. And through my practice and research over the last 17 years, I've developed really through working in more of a coaching capacity with people. And really my sort of passion is for inquiry and for learning about who we are. And learning about who we are really from nature and from natural cycles. And by nature I also include the sky. As an astrologer, I'm really fascinated by that relationship or correspondence between the sky and the earth. You know, there's that famous maxim in alchemy, which is as above, so below. You know, that actually what's happening in the sky and what's happening on the earth are somehow mirroring one another. So I never see the two as separate in a way. I always think, well, what's the link between them? So the alchemical journey is it's a process by which we can inquire into who we are through observing and recognizing the transformations that are inherent in the natural cycle of the year. So I help people to, you know, to work with cycles, to think in cycles, if you like. So that, you know, we're so used to thinking in lines, you know, in lines of time, you know, with a beginning over here and an end over here. So I'm interested in getting, you know, helping people to think again in cycles, as we've always thought in cycles, you know, and I think a great way of doing that is to look at the cycles of birth and growth and decay and death and rebirth that we see all the time, you know, in the natural world. And I think when we start to see our own lives within, you know, within that context, within those cycles, that there are always things being born in us, there are things that are growing, and there are things that are decaying and dying and being reborn.
Like seasons.
Like seasons, exactly. And so, you know, we work very much with the seasons. And so I take people through this process, and each month we look at our lives from a different perspective. And because I'm an astrologer, I use the 12 signs of the zodiac as those 12 perspectives of the year. And I align each sign is kind of aligned to a phase in the year, which is kind of magic, you know. It's almost as if we've created the astrological meanings out of our response to the natural seasons of the year. So, for example, Aries.
Oh, that's me.
Is that you? Well, that's me too. We're two Aries together. Hey. Well, we're going to make things happen.
Yeah.
Aries make things happen, you see. And the reason that is that, you know, that energy, you know, that kind of fiery, passionate impulse. If you think about the bud on a branch, the energy that comes from that, the energy that it takes, if you imagine it, just imagine yourself as that kind of energy inside the bud, that's kind of wants to break through and kind of come into life.
Yeah.
That's the energy of Aries.
Like
so in the Aries month, we look at what it is that's kind of budding up in us. You know, what's that potential? What's that fire? What's that passion? What's that energy? And we work with that. You know, we look at that. And then in Taurus, which is that's that time of the year when the blossom comes in. You know, so we can relax a little bit because suddenly there's this lovely showing of nature's abundance.
Oh, wow.
You know, so we look at, you know, what's blossoming in our own lives.
Yeah. So Pisces would be the end of the line.
Pisces is Pisces we've gone all the way around the year, you know, and that's the one that comes before Aries.
Yeah.
So that's when, you know, that's that kind of phase when things are sort of well, I always see the signs of the zodiac in the context of the ones that are right inside of them. So in Aquarius, you've got that crystallization, like ice crystallizing, you know, the time of the frost.
Yeah.
And then Pisces is where the frost melts, and it kind of and the water begins to flow again. You know, Pisces is the water sign. And so, you know, this is the time in nature when life's waters break. You know, when like waters are breaking again. And you see that in lots of really interesting ways. It's the time sometimes called the quickening phase. It's the time, you know, there's a time in the life. If you look at a sheep, you know, there's a time where the waters break, and it's like just before the lambing season. And so it's that, you know, it's this idea of water flowing again, so that, you know, prior to the, maybe it's also the, you know, there's something going on in the tree, you know, just prior to the buzz breaking through.
Wow, the language you use to describe it is amazing. So in terms of food, how does this work with food?
Well, you know, I'm writing a book at the moment about the alchemical journey, and I have a chapter in there which says, you know, should we be eating strawberries in December?
Okay.
Which is kind of, I think it's kind of an interesting question, because we can store them, or we can import them, or whatever, you know. But there's something about, you know, okay, we have all this choice, we can have anything we want, but does it mean so much to us as if we can actually eat the things that are growing right now, the things that are growing around us, and does it not mean a lot more? This is a question, it's all an inquiry, but I really feel that maybe we have more respect for something that we can appreciate where it's come from, and to pick it at the time when it's growing, to eat it at the time when it's growing.
Gosh, you're making me hungry just thinking talking about it.
And of course, you know, that, you know, people say, oh, well, that means I've got to just eat root vegetables in the winter, you know, squashes and stuff, you know.
So what are your views on veganism and vegetarianism?
Well, I think vegetarianism, perhaps, you know, I think vegans, vegetarians are obviously thinking more about the food that they're eating, and I think, you know, that inevitably is going to put you more in touch with, you know, perhaps thinking seasonally about what you're eating. I mean, I'm very interested in where things come from and where they go. And so I think, you know, your food is so fundamental to who we are, a fundamental part of who we are, and it's so easy, isn't it, just not to have to think when you've got everything laid on a plate for you, so you don't have to think about an animal that's been killed and where it's come from.